Insomnia can drive you crazy. It's just one of those things, my friend, which when you're experiencing can make you feel absolutely exhausted and confused as to why it's happening in the first place. It's something that's deeply impacted me and affected my quality of life, and it's something that I now coach my clients on. And also, as you're here with me, I'm going to guess it's something you need help on, and I hope that my tips and revelations in this video helps you finally get your 8 hours of deep sleep too. Very important for our quality of life. I think life's too short to struggle through life feeling absolutely exhausted, when there are some little things that we can do to turn that around. And I've included at the end of this episode an 8-hour resource. I think it's one of the best things I've ever created to help people get a deep night sleep. So I'll talk more about that and point towards that when we get to the end of this episode. I just want to talk a little bit about insomnia and what it feels like. You know what it's like. Have you ever had that feeling where you're absolutely exhausted? It's like you can't keep your eyes open any longer. You're doing that weird micro nap thing where you're jerking on the couch, and it's time now for you to finally go to bed, hit the pillow, and get that deep sleep. And when your head hits the pillow, you get this weird energy, this lightness in the brain, where suddenly your mind becomes a bit more alert. And then suddenly it's beginning to wander to things that have been unresolved in your past, things that you're unsure were ever dealt with. What did people think of you? Did you really say that? Did you really do that? And that can make you feel more alert. And then before you know it, your mind might do a little jump over into the future. This is the default mode network part of the brain, by the way. And when it wanders to the future, it can then try to start problem solving things that don't even exist yet. And it can make you worry. And that can make you feel more stimulated. My brain used to do both of those. And then it would often jump to amazing business ideas, so that it would come up with something quite inspirational, and I'd be led there thinking, I need to write that down. So then you then feel more even alert. It's just one of those things which just can go around in a cycle, keeping you restless and tossing and turning throughout the night. And then obviously there's the paradox of, okay, so I need to sleep, I need to take this seriously, so I'm going to do some breath work. I might do that TikTok craze I saw on sleep hacks. I wonder if that will work. I'm just not going to think of anything. And you do these things to try to sleep, and your brain's going, are you asleep yet? Am I asleep yet? So these sort of things can be helpful sometimes, but they often don't touch the sides. So what I wanted to share with you was how I discovered I had a real sleep problem, and also 3 things which made such a big difference to me and to my clients. 2 of them completely and utterly surprising. Didn't know that that was what I was doing, and yet it was so easy to begin to turn around to. But my wake-up call with sleep came from the embarrassment and feeling mortified when I was with a client. This is years and years ago. I was only a therapist at the time, and I was sat there with them, and it was the afternoon. We just had lunch, and we're talking away, and then I just felt this wave of tiredness just hit me, and I was sat there thinking, oh, that's heavy. It'd pass. But it didn't. And I was sat there fighting to stay awake in front of my client. They didn't notice. It's a strange spotlight effect, isn't it? Where you really think that they are judging you, despite them, there's no evidence that they are. But I felt like they must notice that I am desperately trying to stay awake. I was fidgety, trying to move to keep myself awake. I wasn't yawning, but it felt like my eyes were closing every few moments. So I felt mortified, and the client left. They seemed quite happy, and they never mentioned it for their sessions, and they got what they wanted, which is wonderful. But that for me wasn't good enough. There's no way when a person's paying to see me that I can show up like that. So I had to look at my sleep and see what the problem was. One of the things that I didn't know, and you can do this with any sleep tracker, is have a look at what is your quality of sleep and are you getting a good night's sleep? I thought I was. I thought I was in bed for 7 hours, so that should be enough. And actually, the sleep measurements that were coming through were saying I was getting less than 6 hours sleep. So it really was a problem. No wonder I was exhausted. But that wasn't the big revelation that started to turn things around for me. The biggest revelation was discovering that I was training my mind to become alert when I got into bed. Now, the brain is a prediction machine, and one of the things that we've all done and might still do when we get into bed is look at our devices. And I used to read, might maybe watch some television, or I would look at my phone. And in a sense, that was quite highly stimulating. We don't tend to look at boring content, do we? But so I was getting into bed and instantly picking up something to begin to feel more alert. You know, reading something exciting, scrolling. And remember, the algorithm knows you, so it's not going to show you boring stuff. It's going to try and keep you online as much as possible by showing you something that will emotionally engage you. Or watching television. And you know, we know that when watching television, it can be quite exciting. So again, the brain's a prediction machine. So the next night, even if you're not doing any of those things, your brain is predicting that and wanting you to experience something similar. You enjoyed it the night before, so maybe you should be doing it the next night. And so one of the things which you're doing unwittingly when you're looking at stimulating content in bed is training your brain, rewiring your brain to seek stimulating content when your head hits the pillow. Of course, the answer to that is to begin to see bed as only for sleep or sex only. And sex is another subject, of course, that can be stimulating, but the reality is, you know, when you begin to train your brain to see bed as a sleep place, not somewhere to be highly stimulated, it can make a big, big difference. And some people's bedrooms look like, you know, a NASA sort of, computer console room full of electronics and screens and TVs and devices. It's crazy. So what I would say to that is reduce the stimulation as much as possible. And therefore train your brain that when you get into bed, it's time to wind down and go to sleep. What about all those things that your mind wanders to? You know, why is it wandering to the past? Why is it wandering to the future? Why is it trying to inspire you like it did me, if that's happening? And one of the things that I didn't know I was doing was I was not giving my brain the space throughout the day to process. You know, I'd fallen into the habit of not journaling. I wasn't, when I was going for a walk, doing it without anything to listen to. Or, you know, I wasn't giving my brain time to process, reflect, go through things, and to inspire me with ideas. You know, I now go for walks which are about 50 minutes, nothing to listen to, or when I go running for an hour or so, nothing to listen to. And I get the best ideas. I get the best processing. I can work through things. If you don't give your brain chance to do that, then it will wait until you give it the space. And of course, the space tends to come when you're trying to switch off when you get into bed. If you can give yourself 10, 15, 20 minutes of processing time, whether it's on a walk, sat in your garden, looking out a window, hot bath, even sat on the loo, don't take your phone. Give yourself some time to process. If you don't, your brain will simply wait until you're about to go to bed. And even if you're one of those people that can fall asleep just like that, wonderful. Your sleep will be light and you're likely to start to try to process it or reflect or have inspirational ideas at 4 a.m. instead. So do make it a priority to give yourself that space. We live in a world which is highly stimulating. We're terrified of being bored. How crazy is that? And yet boredom is where we give our minds the space to come up with stuff, which, again, we've been too distracted to notice. And I do deep consciousness work with my clients. And what I teach them is the power of silence. So when you sit in silence, when you walk in silence, you're driving in silence. Eventually, your ego, your noisy, distracted mind will become quiet. And you begin to hear a deeper, more grounded, more intuitive voice. And when you begin to connect with that, that is an absolute game changer in life. One more thing that I think I just want to mention in regards to what can help you with your sleep is to develop a sleep routine. You know, I never used to take my sleep seriously. I was one of those people that was very social. I used to go out quite a lot. I used to throw my circadian rhythm out of sync all the time. There's bright lights in the evening and no processing, just rushing around all day, far too busy. And I'd expect myself just to switch off just because I was getting into bed, which is completely unrealistic. So I have a sleep routine now, which I'll share with you. Hope it helps. I'll put the details in the description below. But I do have an early dinner. If eating too late has an impact on sleep. I also dim the lights. So I'm showing my mind it's time, that we are heading to bed soon. No phone after 9 p.m. Less stimulating content after 9 p.m. A hot shower 2 hours before bed. Apparently that really helps your circadian rhythm to do the descent into deep sleep. And I also take some magnesium. I take magnesium threonate and I take magnesium glycinate just after dinner. And all of these things, because I believe still, having had an anxiety disorder, whilst I live quite a calm and peaceful life, I still quite feel excited by it. I love life. I think it's one massive, amazing adventure. And comes with its challenges, of course, but I do love life and I'm excited to live it. And I can feel that excitement quite a lot. So to feel calm and peaceful in the evening and just do that lovely descent and towards feeling completely relaxed. I can see on my Apple Watch, I can see my heart rate though is going down into the low 50s. So that's quite good. That means I'm likely to get a really good night's sleep. It's not always guaranteed, but it tends to happen more often than not. So I hope that's helped you. I hope it made you think about if you're struggling with insomnia, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It's just like anxiety. When I work with people with anxiety disorders, it's usually a warning shot that something is unsustainable in your life. And for me, what was unsustainable was training my brain to be alert at night, also not processing enough during the day, the things that needed processing, and having no sleep routine, having no ritual to go to bed. So I hope this has helped. I want to just talk about the resource that I've created. So there's two versions. I've created two meditations, a Yoga Nidra, and they really go through every, as many parts of the body as possible to begin to relax. And as you relax all the way down I've done one with pink noise in the background, which some people find deeply relaxing. I've done another with binaural beats for people who would prefer that. And for about 85 minutes, you'll just hear me guide you through deeply relaxing all the muscles in your body. There's a bit of eye movement therapy. There's a bit of bilateral stimulation, because both of those really help those parts of the brain that becomes overactive to really calm down. And then it just drifts off into 7 hours of very gentle binaural beats music or pink noise music. So you could use it to help you sleep on a deep level, or you could just listen to the 85 minutes and begin to then just turn it off. It's done with a black screen as well on YouTube, so it's there, or you can also find it on the Ultimate Mindset Change podcast. And if you want another version, you're also welcome to come and join my community, the Patreon community, where I'll include the link below, where you can engage with me and also access my resources. So I hope that's helped. If this has been helpful, please subscribe. Please let me know your thoughts. And I look forward to connecting with you in the very next episode. Have a wonderful, peaceful, and present day.